Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of This Is Us Season 6, Episode 14. The night before the wedding is here. We all have answers, everyone,
Mhm.
or at least I'm going to consider this answers. I don't think that the writers are going to pull the rug out from under us on this all over again.
No, I feel like we have answers. And, I've said this the whole time. I just want Kevin to be happy. And I think he's going to be extremely happy in his life and in his choices. So, how can anybody be mad about that? I'm just putting it out there as positivity because I know that there's going to be a lot of comments of people who are upset.
Kofi Nation is having a very, very good night.
They're having a party.
They've all got like their flags, they're waving them around in the street. I think a couple of them are just like passed out, blackout drunk in the corner. Like they are feeling themselves right now. So good on you guys. You have deserved it. You have stood behind this ship despite everyone else bailing and going towards other things. I'm catching so many L's in this video.
This show loves a full circle moment, and we will talk about all that. But before we
Yes.
do, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are here twice a week, and we're going to be talking about This Is Us. We're going to be having reviews and previews. And thank you to everybody. In our last video, we asked you guys, what else are you watching that's currently on the air? And you guys have given us tons of shows that you guys are watching, which really helps us to make sure that after This Is Us is over, that we're circling around, taking a look at the shows that you guys are watching so we can all continue on discussion here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. And if you do want to support us even further, why not check out the link in the description to the store? You can get a cool shirt kind of like this one. We've got a lot of other awesome stuff there as well. We really appreciate everyone who checks all that out. You guys help to support the channel and allow us to continue to do all of these awesome videos that we're so lucky to be able to dive into, like everything that happened before this wedding.
Okay, so Matt mentioned that he's taking a couple L's. I've taken a couple W's, which is not like that normal for me. Typically, I'm pretty wrong on my theories, but I'm taking a couple of
Okay,
wins here.
here you
I
go.
said that Kevin, was going to sleep with nobody. That's exactly what happened. He slept with nobody.
Yeah.
And I also said that the napkin was going to be like song lyrics from The Wedding Singer. That's what that was as well. And I figured that the way that they were going, because this show loves its full circle moments, that it was going to be Sophie.
Okay. Now let's get into all the L's. Okay, while you're doing your victory dance, I'm going to go and get blackout drunk with the Kofi fans in the corner, albeit for entirely different reasons. No, okay, this is my sad dance. No, but okay,
Oh,
the it's all
no,
right.
this is a happy
I'm
time.
feeling
Kevin's happy.
I am feeling happy too. This isn't about me. This is about Kevin and him finding himself. I will say I did enjoy the way in which a lot of this progressed. I think, a lot of your theories made sense when you said them. I think it really played out in a very interesting way in this episode where, we reached that full circle moment, but I didn't think it was necessarily like overly predictable. I think they did manage to kind of include a couple of different surprises. I am a little bit surprised by how quickly the whole Ariel the wedding singer thing was just like thrown right out the window. They like hyped this up in a promo like it was a big deal, and that scene lasted all of like 90 seconds.
No, she ended up being a big nothing burger, which I think a lot of us thought was going to be the way. I mean, it really felt like it was between Sophie or Cassidy. And throughout this episode, I mean, they did a really nice, sweet, beautiful job bringing Sophie and Kevin back together as these two changed individuals, where, she revealed that she is straight divorced. I'm like,
Yes.
all right, good. I am so happy. I didn't want to see her character get kind of run over like we saw with Toby's character at the end of his arc. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, perfect. She's no longer married. She's talking about some of the stuff she's been doing. She's a traveling nurse. She's been in Berlin and all over the place helping people. I'm like, okay, so we got to know what she's doing. Kevin's revealed what he's been doing with Big Three construction and his work, with the vets and everything with his kids. I'm like, they did such a nice job of them spending the day together. After she lost her luggage, she has no clothes, no toiletry. She's got nothing. He's like, I will take you out. We will figure it out. Helped get her the dress. And then they're at like the little corner store picking up like shampoo and stuff. It was just done so beautifully. It felt very natural, like no time had passed. And I think we've all had those relationships where it's like, oh, I haven't spoken to you in a million years, but it's like no time has passed.
No, and that's always that. There's few feelings I think that are as wonderful as that, where you can just sort of settle in and find this place of comfort, and you probably go into all these moments. I'm saying, the royal you here, always feeling like, oh, is this gonna work? Or is it gonna feel that way? And then it ends up feeling that way, and you feel so good and relieved after the fact. And I really enjoyed there still being a little bit of fun in here. I really like the just married sign that like Kevin is like ripping off the back of the car because he knows that that's not there. And I even like that Sophie didn't tell everybody else that she was divorced right away, because clearly she did not want to make Kate's wedding whole ceremony about her and what she was going through.
I also really like that the writers put in that Kevin was like, look at the gray in this beard. I'm like, I see what you guys are doing, because he's 44 at this wedding, and it's only like 5 or 6 years in the future that we're all at Rebecca's deathbed, and they grayed him out so much in that time, which I always feel like they kind of just went overboard a little bit with the makeup.
Yeah.
And, they've kind of had to come out and be like, yeah, it's not actually that far in the future, where it's just like, okay, well, you grayed everybody out so much that now at 44, he's like, look, here's some gray in my beard. I'm like, there's nothing there.
Yeah. Dude, I know my vision's bad, but I could not see any gray in your beard. I'm just saying, you looked fine, and clearly Sophie couldn't notice anything either.
So we ended up a little bit later where Sophie decides to make a move, and it's just like there's obvious chemistry there. They both want to be together. She takes his key card, leads him into the room. They're starting to be together, and I was like, oh no, I'm going to take an L on this. They are going to actually hook up. But in the midst of it, he says something to her that at that time I understand why she was kind of like, no, this is a red flag, where he's kind of like, oh, your hair smells exactly the same, that she jumps up and she's just like, listen, it can't be like this where we're just going to go back and kind of be the people we were. Like, I like the person I am, you can't be the same person you were. This can't just be something that's like, oh, nostalgic, and it's going to be this thing that happens, and that she reveals that she just has there's this hold on her with Kevin, that no matter who she's been with, it's held on to her. So this is more for her.
I think it's just a situation where she doesn't want Kevin to be in love with a version of her that isn't necessarily there anymore. It's like, the old Sophie from many years ago, it's a part of sort of the new present day Sophie, but it's not the same person. And I think she wants to feel like she's not falling in love with an ideal, not falling in love with some mystery that, may or may not ever really be there for him. And I think her concerns are certainly valid. And I will say my fear when they started getting close to doing something in that scene with us is like, what is the rest of the episode going to be at this point? If it's like, okay, they're not clearly going to have Kevin like be with multiple people in this way in one night. Like, that's really tacky. They're not going in that direction. But what is the rest of the episode going to be?
Yeah, no, he's grown past that, and he's not going to do that. But what I did find interesting in that scene, and I said this in, last couple videos too, where there was women's undergarments that were left there, and I was kind of like, who leaves there without their undergarments and just leaves? And now we know it's Sophie. And after watching the scene play out, I still don't understand why she didn't grab them, because she jumps up out of bed and she puts on, just her wrap, and she's just like, no, I don't want to do this. I'm like, okay, yeah, she wants to cover herself up. Sure, I understand it. Now it's kind of an awkward moment. She wants to cover herself up. No problem.
Yeah.
Then they have a conversation about it where, I get it. She didn't just flee and forget it.
Yeah.
Because as she was leaving, she grabbed her purse and like some other stuff, and she just left that. Remember that Sophie has no luggage, and the only dress she found was through the dry cleaner. So she doesn't have any other undergarments except the thing that she said that she had in her purse, which is not what she left at Kevin. So she doesn't have another one. So she's now the next day in this dress with no undergarment. I'm just like, okay, some dresses, you don't need that. But then, why didn't she ever just go back and ask for it? I understand that it's awkward. How are you going to get home without it? Like, you need to get it back.
See, I'm not the best person to be discussing any of this. I did have a lot of questions about this too. I don't understand. I thought at first, okay, maybe she did get out of there in sort of a hurry or whatever else because it was awkward. But like you said, she picked up the purse. It's like, okay,
Yep.
once you pick up the purse, I think you can be able to pick up something else that you're
Yes.
probably going to need a little bit later on down the road.
Yes.
So all of this happens, and then at this point we go to Ariel, where we have this brief, extremely awkward, like minute and a half long conversation, which it didn't feel a lot like this episode even needed it. It felt almost like Katie Lose wanted to be on This Is Us, and they were like, okay, here's a role for you.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like. And yeah, it was not needed at all. And I'm not trying to be like, get her off the show or anything.
Yeah.
It's just, it didn't really need to be there. And it certainly didn't need to be there in the promo where it's like, could she be the one? Nobody thought she was
No.
going to be the one. So then we end up in this situation where Nikki's going out to get some ice to do some whatever. We're not going to talk about it because nobody wanted to hear it on the show.
That was great. That was great. Nikki, within 2 minutes of this episode, he threw like 8 fastballs and then he left.
No, it was good. And he kind of like alluded to the idea that Cassidy is the one for Kevin and she's been there the whole time. And, he's kind of listening, but not really. And then Cassidy shows up and is like, hey, can you help me get out of this? I think, a lot of us have been in that situation where a zipper gets caught and we're stuck. And he's like, yeah, no problem, whatever. And then they sit down and he has this conversation with her where he's just like, hey, Nikki kind of brought up this thing. And I really like Cassidy and I like their friendship so much that I was really happy to see the way that she pulled this together. She was like, you're, my best friend. You're in a different spot in your life now where you're doing really well. Me too. But we are working together. You're my boss. You're, the person who is like the closest thing to being my absolute best friend. I'm not the person for you and you're not the person for me. And he didn't even try to really fight it. He was just like, you're right. You're my best friend too.
I think it's a situation where Cassidy has always known that she's not Kevin's person, I think somewhere within her. And I think she doesn't want to be in a situation where, Kevin is settling for her or Kevin is choosing her because he can't have or something or somebody else. And I think she's just aware of that. And I respect her a lot for that. And I respect this relationship for where it is. Like, I was on the Kevin and Cassidy campaign for like 1 week here. I still think with different writing, maybe in an alternate universe it could have worked. But you know what? For the writing that we got, I think it is more than fine that and see, this is me, not really backpedaling on anything I just said. And I'm just like, you know what? I can still imagine it happening, but no, I'm fine with what they did. I think it's great that we found some sort of closure here. And I hope we do see Jennifer Morrison at least one more time.
I'm just laughing because I have throughout this whole show and all the seasons flip-flopped all over the place on who I wanted to see Kevin with. I was all team Sophie for a while. I loved Cassidy for a while. You guys know I loved Madison for a while. Then I was on Zoe, as well. Like, it's just, that's why when I really peeled it back, I just wanted Kevin to be happy. And I think he's going to be. So after all of this,
yes.
I mean, we end up in this situation where Sophie sits down with Rebecca because she's really just not sure about things. And Rebecca is in the midst of having an episode where she feels that Sophie is 20. So they're still having a talk that still works out for where Sophie is, where she's saying, listen, Kevin's not right for you right now. And, I wouldn't have the patience to wait around for somebody. But if you do, he will eventually get there. Like, I believe in him and I believe in you guys and it can happen for you guys. It's just, it has to be the right timing.
Yeah. And I think a couple of conversations in all of this are so important for us getting to that huge moment with these two at the end. We have everything with Sophie and Rebecca that I think gives Sophie an added sense of perspective. And then you have everything with Kevin and Randall and what I am going to call the Buffalo Bills conversation, because listen, there were so many Buffalo Bills fans who were just watching this show peacefully enjoying themselves, and then like they just caught all these strays from Randall, who was just reminding them all of their complete suckage and all of the Super Bowls. Listen, I grew up having to watch a lot of Dallas Cowboys games, so I remember all of those bad, sad things. Buffalo Bills fan, you've cried more in this episode than you have in any other one in a while. But that whole conversation, though, it was important for Kevin also to get to the spot that he needed to be so that they could have that beautiful moment while all the Bills fans are off crying. But it was a very, very good opportunity to see the two of them kind of come to these realizations and then come to one together.
I really liked the way that they played out a good portion of this, with it being Sophie that ends up doing most of the talking. Because for a very long time, I felt like Kevin needed to grow and then get to the point that he was the one that put the effort into Sophie to sort of like really show her that he's grown.
Yeah.
However, at this wedding and their talks and him explaining some of his life and where he is, and you could just see it in him that he has changed in a lot of ways. I like that was enough for her, that she saw it with action, that he has moved into being this different man. She knows that she's a different woman, and that she took the reins to sort of say, I see where we are now and that we are different people.
That was my biggest concern with Kevin and Sophie, was just that I didn't know if Sophie was going to be able to get there, because this is a person in Kevin who has hurt her multiple different times. I mean, we've obviously talked in the past plenty about, him cheating on her when they were really, really young, but then they also gave it another go in the present earlier on in the series. And, these two separate relationships, these two attempts to make things work, it could have made it where it was a hurdle she just couldn't get past anymore. But I think she is such a self-aware person, and she's someone who really understands the hearts and minds of other people. She was able to get there, I think, with Kevin in a way that felt satisfying. It didn't feel rushed and it didn't feel forced. And I'm really, really grateful about that.
Love isn't always on time.
That's right.
But here they are. Okay, now that we're 18 minutes into the video, if anyone is still watching with us, we are going to get into some of the criticisms that we have with this episode. Overall, I think this is a very good episode. Like, it was very close to being a 10 out of 10 until that very end of Sophie's speech. Okay, so here we are. If you're still with us, put on your hard hats. Because we are fans of the show, we, will always be honest and be critical of things that we just don't think worked, because if fans of the show are not going to be the people to call stuff out, then who will? Nobody.
Yeah.
So here we are. Okay, so let me start with this. We had this moment where Kevin says after the speech, well, maybe I'm not going to show you what I was going to show you, or I'm not going to go where I was going to go. And she's like, no, that's okay. You can. He's like, and she's like, no, you can. Mm-hmm. He then pulls out this Valentine, and here we are with the full circle moment, of course, where we know that he did this Valentine from the first moment he saw her when they were little. Okay, I get it. It is a romantic moment. Yeah. But at the same time, I have to ask this to you guys, because I sort of like asked this as a general question, not revealing that it had anything to do with this show, to a couple friends and family members. And here's the question. If you are married, or you have a fiance, or you have a very serious relationship, like you're living with somebody, and that person is carrying around in their wallet with them every single day a Valentine or a love letter or a picture, they're all kind of in that same ballpark, of their ex, their first love, their ex-wife or ex-husband, in the case of you guys that I'm asking, how would you feel about it? So I had, like I said, I asked this sort of generally to other people of, hey, you're married. You had to go into, say, your husband's wallet because you're like, I need $20 for parking. And you go in there and you find a Valentine that your husband has been carrying around with him for 30 years from another woman, or that he was giving to another woman. How would you feel about that? And they were like, I wouldn't feel that great about that. It doesn't feel like, it's a bit of a betrayal. It's a bit rude. It's not appropriate. If they want to keep it and say like a shoebox or, a photo album. Yeah, cool. I'm fine with that. Everybody has a past. Everybody has memories. But when it's in your wallet, it's present with you every day. So here's my beef. If he has been carrying this around with him in his wallet, and it looks like it has been, I mean, it was all like, bent and whatever. That means that he had that carrying around with him in his wallet when he was living with Zoe, which is not okay for Zoe. And he also had that carrying around in his wallet when he was engaged to Madison while she was pregnant. Carrying that around on his wedding day to Madison. And to that, I just have to be like, I really wish that the show left the full circle moment at them getting together, because the minute that he pulled that out, I was like, oh no, no. That's not okay for him to be carrying around while he's had multiple serious relationships, one where he was almost married, and he's still carrying that around. It would have just taken 1 second for one of his partners to need money for the bus or something, and to take it out of his wallet and find that there and be crushed.
I tried really hard to do like backflips and somersaults and all these just physical activities to justify or explain what could be going on. Like, is it possible that Kevin was stretching the truth a little bit to Sophie? But then if he was doing that and sort of saying, I've always carried this with me, then it's kind of a jerky thing for him to act like to her. And so I'm gonna take it at his word that he has been carrying this all this time. But then, like you said, then that is a jerky thing to do to other people. Like, that's a situation where, if I'm with somebody and they're carrying around, something actively with them that reminds them of another love, like, it's gonna be a problem. And I'm not somebody who is like, oh, you need to get rid of all your past, because your past is your past. Like you said, I think there's no problem with anyone holding on to a lot of memories, but carrying something with you when you have such a limited space in your wallet and you can only have the most important things, like, that is an issue. Also, I am shocked that, like, I don't know how old Kevin was there, like 6, 7 or whatever, but like 7-year-old Kevin actually held on to this. Kids are jerks. Like, I'm really surprised he didn't just like wipe his nose on it one day or accidentally like throw it out with some Cheetos or like something else. Like, it's a miracle that thing still exists.
Yeah. And he was supposed to have given it to Sophie. So how did he get it back, right? Like, maybe he chickened out and didn't give it to her or whatever. But it was also because Sophie the night before had basically said, please don't make this about the past. I want it to be about the present. And then in her speech to him sitting down, reiterated the same thing. I need this to be about you, Kevin, where you are now, me, Sophie, where I am now, and us going into the future as we are now. For him, like, I wish that he had sort of kept that in his mind and his quiet voice of, oh, well, then I guess I better not bring this out. You just didn't need to say it at all. And maybe could have shown it a little bit later on. She just told you twice within 24 hours that she doesn't want this.
I also have one other beef with this episode. I did not need the Pearson round of applause after the two of them kissed. It's like, this is not... This, those sporting events where occasionally, like, you have the guy who, like, brings the woman down and he, like, proposes to her in front of the arena. This is not that. This is Kate's whatever. I understand there's not always a lot going on at a reception, but one, I don't believe that everyone else is just magically going to stop their dancing and whatever else to listen to a conversation. And two, If I am like seeing all of my family gather around me in the midst of some like personal life affirming conversation, I am getting so much stage fright. I'm gonna have a freaking panic attack in that moment because it's just gonna make me so uncomfortable.
Yeah, because the other question is this, like, Randall learned about the divorce,
Yeah.
so he knew Sophie was divorced, and Beth kind of, that was so funny, just
Yeah.
popped around the corner, it's like, I knew it, kind of thing, I'm gonna go tell Madison. Okay, so 3 people knew about it, but
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that everybody knew about it. And then we're in this situation where they decide to have a public kiss at the reception, but they were all standing around like they all knew she was divorced, and there wasn't
Yeah.
any faces that were like, isn't she married? Like, what is happening here? Nobody.
Word gets around fast with the Pearson family. I'm glad that Madison seemed to be so happy for him, but here's a solution that I think will satisfy everyone, and by everyone I really just mean the two of us. We have no idea what's satisfying the commenters, but okay. How about you guys just cut out the entire last minute of this episode? Get rid of the Valentine, get rid of the Pearson family applause.
Yeah, I seriously didn't need the Valentine. Like I said, I know the show loves a full circle moment. That was just, it was not appropriate for his past relationships. And I don't want to feel like they meant nothing and that he was just kind of, there for no reason, especially Zoe. I mean, there was a lot of love there, and I understand they weren't in the same point of life of kids, but like they really truly loved each other. This isn't the same as with Madison, where, she really loved him and he couldn't get there, but they were about to get married. Like,
Yeah.
it was a little bit much. So I could do without the Valentine. They had already done a full circle moment. And I wish that they were out in private, that they had that kiss, that it was truly just theirs and not everybody standing around like a creep show being like, yeah. I'm like, why, guys? Why?
It was so weird, but it's if you just get rid of this stuff, I think we have here, at least in our opinion, a really fantastic episode
really
of this
good.
show. I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad that it's not Cassidy or Madison or anything else. I think this makes perfect sense, and now we all get to prepare ourselves for the Miguel episode that we have all been waiting forever for.
Yeah, we're going to be having a preview of that coming up. We've mentioned this before, if you're this far into the video, that when we're reviewing an episode, we haven't watched to see what's coming up next because we do our previews every Thursday.
Yeah. All right. Well, hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss that, and we will see you here next time.